go! It's the Panther Podcast, brought to you by Plainfield High School. Go Panthers! Give it up for your host, Jacob Irons!
Thanks. Today I'll have on the one, the only, Mr. Bickgood. We talked about his career here at PHS and what it's like to be the assistant principal to the school he once attended. Before that, we will do the segment Panther Rapid Fire. It's a little takeoff of PTI on ESPN. Now, like always, let's talk about the sport happenings going around PHS. These are the happenings going around PHS. The girls' indoor track, SMR and 4x14 went to nationals in New York. They had a wonderful season, all of us at the Panther Podcast. Wanted to congratulate them on the wonderful season they had. The teams were made up of sophomores Cassie and Kate Carlson, Izzy Newberry, and senior Taylor Belzano. When I talked to Izzy after the Bacon Academy meet, which the meet they just qualified for nationals, Izzy said it felt awesome to be going to New York. She said it was a wonderful experience, which they did not experience yet. And loves, it's Panther Rapid Fire. Today I'll have on guest senior class president Kyle Vallee. Thanks for coming on today.
Of course, Jacob. Anytime.
So here's what's going to happen. He will have 60 seconds, give or take, to say what he feels on the given topics. The 5 given topics we'll be talking about today is prom, which you are the senior class president, so you'll have a lot of intake on that one. Then we have March Madness, if you follow a little college basketball. Then we'll have Greece play coming up. I hope you know.
Of course.
And then we have NHS, and then we have the spring preview of all the sports. So let's start off with prom. Senior class president planning it out. Where's it being hosted this year?
Sure. So this year we're having prom at Lake of Isles, which is at Foxwoods. It's a beautiful venue. It's right situated on the golf course behind Foxwoods. We're going to have a fantastic DJ this year. We've put a lot of effort into that. He does the nightclubs at Mohegan Sun, some of the nightclubs at Foxwoods, and I think we're going to have a really good time with that. We're also going to have the photo booth like we did last year, and I think there'll be a couple other surprises.
A couple other surprises? Well, that's always good to hear. And then another main concern, DJ wasn't too good last year. You also lost. So that's a point of emphasis for you guys, right? To try and find a really good DJ.
Yeah, so we've been fundraising like crazy this year, and I think that we're going to have a real good time with him.
Well, that's good to hear. Now we're going to move on to the second topic, March Madness.
March Madness. So what's your take on that, Jake?
My take is that we got to have Loyola Chicago go all the way.
Yeah, it's been insane this year. My sister was pretty disappointed. You know, she's a URI alum, and she likes to watch it, but...
Yeah, URI did go out too early, in my opinion, but they got dealt the cards they did.
Of course they did.
Alrighty, now we're going to go on to the third one, Greece. The play coming up, big, 50 years Greece has been around. What's your feelings about that show?
Yeah, so, I mean, I've danced for many years, and I've always loved the musicals in the spring. I think that Vinny's going to do a fantastic job as Danny. I couldn't have cast that better. I mean, that's just perfect. I think they're going to have a real great show on their hands. I know they're restoring the car.
Yeah, that car, I walk by there every day coming to the studio. It looks awesome. They put in a lot of hours and a lot of work to get that thing done.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
And then that cast is just phenomenal of who's on there. Thinking we could be one of the top production.
Yeah, we're gonna give Griswold a real run for their money this year.
Exactly. Now we're gonna talk about NHS. President.
Yep. So we've been busy. We just had our Easter Bunny breakfast where we had a record turnout. I was very impressed with that. The money that we make is going to go towards a scholarship that we do at the end of the year. We also donate to multiple charities, including the Tommy Toy Fund. And we're running this year for the first time ever, Mr. PHS.
Mr. PH. So what, because me and you have talked about this off the side, I'm excited to go see this. This is something that I think guys should go and enjoy. It's going to be a nice, fun little comedy.
It's going to be really fun. We're hoping to get all the senior athletes, all the guys out there. We'll do maybe a talent section, maybe some Q&A, and I'm really excited for just to see what they bring to the table.
I think if Chris Peasley and Isaiah Thompson come out, I think it could be a fun night. Both of those are unpredictable.
Yeah, we might even do some type of beachwear segment, but it's going to be a comedy sort of thing, so they'll come out in floaties or something. See, that seems like a good, fun night. And now, spring's here. I don't think it is. We've still got snow on the ground. Barely.
But spring previews coming up. So we've got baseball, softball, track, and golf all going on this season. Feelings about what's going to happen going on?
I think that is going to be an insane season, and I'm excited to see what happens. I know that you're involved in spring track. How's that been going?
Good. We are under the leadership of Mr. Grant, amazing coach there, distance guy. Yeah,
Fantastic.
ran at Southern. We have a good team. We have the returning 4x4 in SMR indoor track girls champions of the
Congratulations
ECC.
to them.
Congratulations to them completely. They went to the Armory and raced. But we have a good, strong team. We have high numbers too.
Right.
And then we have baseball. Baseball's hot top. Baseball's hot right now. Everyone loves spring. Everyone loves to see those pinstripes, i.e. my Yankees. How do you think they're gonna do?
I mean, I'm not terribly involved in the baseball team, but I have multiple friends that are on the team. I know that Cooper Wade is really excited for this season. He's been talking it up, and I can't wait to see what they're gonna do.
Well, and then we also have softball. Softball looks good. Casey Hurst is going to be in the circle. I think that should be fun. And then we also have golf. Alex Rose, a sophomore, is going to be taking one of that leadership role there. Well, that's going to do it. Thank you for coming on, Kyle, today.
Of course, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Alrighty. Thanks, Kyle. And now it's time for a commercial break. If you want some headphones to jam out to this awesome podcast, stop at the school store. They have headphones, snacks, and Panther gear, so give them a try. Now let's get back to the podcast. Now I am with the one and only Mr. Bickgood. Mr. Bickgood, thank you for coming on today.
No problem, Jake.
All right, so he's my main guest for the podcast this week. So I'm going to ask you various questions. I've gotten some from the public, some from student body, some from also other administrators, some from teachers. Now, all right. So some of you may not know this, but you actually attended here.
I did. Well, not this building, the old building. Yeah.
The annex, right?
No, well, the annex had another piece of it that was that's no longer there. So there was a part built onto the annex that got destroyed when they built this building.
Yeah. Nice. And then, so if people don't know it, you have a poster up in the gym for the 1,000 Point Club.
It might be Mr. Langlois. People get us confused a lot.
Oh.
I know we're very similar in appearance, so it's an easy mistake to make.
Oh, I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
And so, what could you explain that accomplishment of what you felt to be getting that poster hung up with being 1,000?
I mean, yeah, it was a lot of work for Mr. Hansen to get the ladder out and drill that thing up on the wall and do the screws. So, I think Mr. Langlois definitely has something to be proud of. It's not everybody who can score 1,000 points, much less, a male on a high school girls team. It's difficult, but he pulled it off.
Oh my God. Oh. So, now, you're something.
Yeah.
You had Mr. Aramoni as a coach.
Yep.
Could you give any advice to some of the basketball players that had him, what you say you've learned something over the 4 years you had him?
Well, Mr. Aramoni's been my coach for longer than 4 years because, he was my shoot straight coach, which is kind of like what youth hoop is today, way back in the early days there. And I think Mr. Aramoni was probably in his 20s, and I was probably 6 or 7 years old. So he's been my coach for longer than 4 years. A lot of people will tell you he's a lot more mellow than he used to be. He used to be pretty fiery. He's mellowed out quite a bit here in his middle ages. So
I heard one time he literally broke a clipboard in half yelling at a ref.
Mr. Aramoni can get a little worked up with referees. I think we all get worked up with the kind of the inefficiency of referees sometimes, but it's all part of the game, I guess. So.
Fair enough.
Yep.
All right, so we'll take it away from Plainfield here. From Plainfield, you went on to play at Rhode Island College.
Yes.
Could you describe that amazing experience of taking it to another level? Because most kids don't know what actually it is to play college basketball.
It's a completely different world. A lot of college basketball players are essentially pros, even though they're not getting paid. They play basketball for 6-7 hours a day. It's very hard to balance a college load with an academic season. Athletic season. Going to classes, being off campus, flying away for a game, coming back, having class the next day. It's a difficult thing to do. And, you don't think of it as much in high school because your games they're usually in the same state or a neighboring state, and you're not flying and coming back and trying to make up classes. So it's definitely a big academic and sports load to carry on with.
So did you ever struggle with that?
No, you definitely have to put more time in, You definitely have to put in a lot more time than everybody else who's either. A lot of people are just playing sports or just going to school, and not a lot of people are doing both, And I think when you look at college sports in the graduation rates, a lot of the players go to school in the summer. A lot of players, if they are going to graduate, they stay after 4 years, or a lot of players don't graduate. So I think you definitely have a lot more on your plate if you're going to try to play college sports and get a degree, and then think about going on even maybe past your bachelor's degree. So.
Which you did.
I did, yes.
How was that?
So all teachers have to get a master's or 30 hours, post bachelor's, and that's a little bit easier. Although because you're usually working at that time and things like that, so you're not really playing sports at that time. Although, as you know, some players have come back as graduate students to play for Division I teams or transferred and done that, and that works out a little easier. But it's actually probably a little easier to be a graduate student than an undergraduate student.
Alrighty, so I'll throw in a couple people's choice questions here. One of the first people's choice questions is, I asked a lot of people and everyone agreed on this question. Because a lot of our student body goes to basketball games, as you see.
Okay.
And you're always in.
Not enough goes to the basketball games, I might add, though. More should go.
More should go. You really think?
I think that we have a lot of bleachers. They should be full of students and parents, and I'd like to see it back to where there's not an empty seat in the house. So.
Fair.
Yep.
So you're always in that. From when you walk in, you're always on the right side, over by the locker room doors. And you always have a lollipop in your mouth.
Yep.
Why do you have a lollipop in your mouth?
Well, I used to two things. I used to sit on the end of the bench until the AD from Ledger complained, so I don't sit there anymore. I used to like to sit on the end of the bench, away from the players, but still on the bench, so I could see what was going on, with the game. And the lollipop, it kept calming me down. I know a lot of coaches, when I coached, we'll do things like chew towels and walk pace the sidelines, just to keep your anxiety levels at a decent level because you get so into the game. So I think Red Auerbach of the Celtics used to smoke a cigar when he thought the game was over. I don't believe you could probably, fire up the cigar after the game. A lot of college coaches today would probably fire up the vape pen after the game, but, none of those I would recommend. So.
Well, that's good that you don't recommend them.
Yeah.
All right, so what are some of your favorite experiences here at Plainfield High School as a student, teacher, and as an administrator?
I think they're all the same. As a teacher and administrator, I like working with kids. That's my favorite part of it. I don't really like the paperwork part of it too much. I like working with kids and helping them find their place, in school and what they want to do with their life.
Yep.
I think, the school should mold itself around what kids want to be, not the other way around.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the philosophy where kids have to go to a predetermined route in school. I think school is about finding yourself and finding where you want to be in the world and things that interest you and taking different classes. So I really like working with kids. I like building programs, I like helping kids find the way, getting through trouble and getting back on the right path. So those are things I like. I don't like the political piece. I don't like the budget piece. I think school is a very important part for the community, especially if you want students to come back later on in life and build on the community and build, everybody builds upon the next generation. And I think that's an important thing to think about with schools.
And then what is it like to see some of the teachers you had still be teaching here?
There's not too many left. A couple of them I had in maybe elementary school that are not here anymore. But I think if you still like doing it, that's fine. And you could stay around for a while. I think I started very young, so some of the teachers were pretty young when I had them as teachers, and then they're not that much older than me. If you still like doing it, that's a great thing. To be around kids. It's it's not an easy job if you don't like to work with kids and, help them work on their problems. And I guess people can say that. Yes, we've blown out the power here in Studio Irons.
It should power, right?
I spiked the microphone so much that we have had a brownout here in the studio.
Motion detector.
Yes.
So, I used my sources,
Okay.
and some of my sources gave me some good information.
Okay. What did your grandfather say?
My grandfather told me
Oh.
you threw a clutch free throw to win a state tournament game, and that it was such an emotional game for you that you went up and hugged your dad in the stands.
He's talking about me, or is he talking about your dad? Because your dad also hit a free throw to win a game at Marianapolis. So.
Yeah, but you're in the studio.
But that was an emotional game. I was at that game, and that was when Marianapolis was pretty good at that point, and your dad came in and hit the free throw.
And that's also when he was coaching for Drapshaw.
He did, and he got an extra point because it went off the backboard before it went in the hoop. So.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But, so how did it feel?
So I mean, it always feels good when you win in the state tournament because people doubt you, especially in those days the league was a lot smaller. We weren't in the ECC, we were in the QVC, and people don't think that you can compete at that level, and so a lot of it is really going into those games with a chip on your shoulder, that you demand the respect that, you should get from other leagues and other parts of the state, and that's one thing I've always had in the back of my mind is that we don't always get a lot of respect from other towns or richer towns, but I feel, our kids are as good or if not better than any other kids, and we can certainly compete with them in academics and the sports.
As of what we've seen, Miss Volan runs an amazing athletic program. She does an amazing job. Ever thought about taking the athletic director position?
No, I never had that interest because when I go, even now, I like basketball, but I get too worked up when I go to the games, whether we're going to win or lose. And to do that every day, I'm not probably wired for that.
Yep.
I like to see our kids win. I get kind of mad and fired up when, a referee makes a bad call or something like that. So I think you have to, Miss Bowen's a much better person for that. She knows more about sports. I have a limited knowledge of sports where you really have to know about a whole bunch of different sports to do it.
Yeah.
Especially... Now we have more sports. I think in the future, if we have wrestling and tennis and things like that, there's a lot of programs that you have to manage. So it takes a lot of time and effort to do that.
I also heard you dabble in golf.
No, I played with your dad. With your dad and your grandfather a couple times. I think my clubs are in a lake somewhere in Pomfret. I think I threw them in a lake. Golf for me was fun, playing by myself or just walking and not keeping score. But when you have to keep score, it just wasn't that fun for me anymore. Plus, I'm too hazardous with the golf clubs and the balls, and I think the insurance waivers wouldn't pick me up for breaking windshields and mailboxes and denting houses and things like that.
So, how would you describe your athletic career here? Like, in one-word summary, how would you describe it?
Short. So when you play high school sports, if you play juniors or whatever, or middle school sports or intramurals, and then you'll have 4 years, and people think, well, 4 years is a lot of time, but I think Scullen could tell you 4 years goes fast in high school, right? And the older you get in life, generally, the faster time goes. So it's important to remember that you need to enjoy it for what it is, and that's playing sports with your friends. And not a lot of people are going to play at the next level, so play it because you like to do it and keep it in perspective. But remember, it's a short time, and it's one thing you did in your life. It's not everything you're going to do in your life. So.
Alrighty, well, thank you, Mr. Bickgood, for coming on today.
Anytime, Jake.
Alright. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Panther Podcast. I would like to thank my guests, Senior Class President Kyle Vallee and Vice Principal Mr. Bickgood. This project's editorial producer is Mr. Jordan. Project supervisor is Mr. Bickgood. Cohen Sharkey is the graphic consultant and intro specialist. And I'm the host, Jacob Irons, and we're going to be signing off. Go Panthers!